got the big bosses here. And Congressman Kelly, who's gracing us today, to say a few words. Thank you all for being here, by the way. There he is. There he is.
Well, I'd say good morning, but that's not the right way to address it. It's a great morning. It is a great morning when you have an ex-junior senator from Pennsylvania in the room with you, and beside to my right side, a guy that I served with in Congress back in 2013, and he left the Congress and went to the Senate, and he has been an incredible spokesman for the conservative view of how this country should be run. And it's not an easy thing to do. The one thing I would ask all of you, because I usually go to 8 o'clock Mass, there's more people here today for Dr. Oz than there is at 8 o'clock Mass. Now, don't ask me why. But I got a really good feeling about it, so I have the honor of introducing Senator Cotton. I told you we served together. He is a captain, retired captain, U.S. Army, decorated, Bronze Star. He has been the strongest voice in the Senate when it comes to conservative values. So I get a chance to be with him again. It's been a couple of years since we've been together. In fact, I can't understand a guy this young being in the Senate. And a guy this young. Thank God with your background, you're going to be able to save a lot of those older lives. It's great to be with you. I would just tell you this, please. We always hear this is the most important election in our lives. It goes more than that. It is the most important election in the life of this nation. So let's make sure that we stand united. I used to play for a guy named Eric Parsegian. He was a coach at Notre Dame. Coach Parsegian used to say, hold up your fist and clench it. And when you're this tight, nobody can pull you apart. Nobody. There's no force that can pull you apart. I would ask that as Republicans and other people who are looking at the destruction of the United States of America, let's make sure we stand strong, so tight, so clenched, that no force can pull us apart. We have got to win these elections. So thank you so much.
With Mike if you weren't here campaigning. but I think the world will give you a hall pass because this is so important. We even got a kindergartner here who's playing a little bit of hooky this morning. Dr. Roger. I've got my own kindergartner back home. I got to say, he goes through separation anxiety every now and then when I have to leave. So a while back, I was leaving to go to Washington to vote, and he came up and he put a hammerlock around my legs. And he said, "Daddy, please don't go." I said, "Son, I have to go. I got to go to work." He said, "No, please, someone else can beat the Democrats." And I didn't tell him that that's true, someone else could beat the Democrats. But why would I let them have all the fun? But it's more than just fun. It is vital for the future, the safety, the prosperity of this nation that we elect Dr. Oz to the United States Senate from Pennsylvania. If you want to put the brakes on the Biden agenda, if you want to stop what the Democrats have done to this country over the last 2 years, we have to elect Dr. Oz. There is no majority in the United States Senate that doesn't go through Pennsylvania. And if you want more of what you've gotten over the last 2 years, then John Fetterman is your man. Now look, I know that John Fetterman had a tragic stroke a few months ago. And that's very, very sorrowful. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. I hope he recovers fully and rapidly. But his health is the least of my concerns with John Fetterman. I'm worried about your health and what he and his party would do to this country if they take the majority in the United States Senate. John Fetterman has voted repeatedly to let murderers and drug traffickers out of prison early. In fact, he said once that if he was given just one wish, what would it be? It wouldn't be to get inflation under control. It wouldn't be to bring down gas prices. Wouldn't be to stop the opioid epidemic that is ravaging Pennsylvania and our nation. It wouldn't even be to get the Steelers back to the Super Bowl. It would be to end long sentences for murderers. That's his priority. That's what his values are. Dr. Oz will make sure that we put victims first and that we keep our streets safe. If you look at the concern that so many Arkansans have, and so many Pennsylvanians have as well, about making ends meet at the end of the month, be able to pay not just the rent and the gas bills, but the utility bills, the food on the table for your kids, because inflation is up 13% under Joe Biden. Again, why is that happening? It's because Democrats have spent trillions of dollars that we don't have, and they've declared war on fossil fuels. Joe Biden said in his campaign in 2020, he said we're going to end fossil fuel production in America. The price that you pay for your gas, the price that you're going to pay to heat your home this winter, it's not an accident, it's not an unintended consequence. This is what Democrats like Joe Biden and John Fetterman want. They want it because they want to get this country off of fossil fuels. What does that mean for our country? It means a less prosperous future. It means a smaller future. It means less opportunity for our kids. What does it mean for Pennsylvanians right now? It means thousands and thousands of high-paying, quality jobs out in the gas industry being destroyed. Dr. Oz understands that we have the power in this country, you really in this state, to help power our economy to a bigger, brighter, better future. John Fetterman will stand with the Democrats who will ban the most innovative techniques and methods for getting that gas out of the ground and getting it to market. Will continue to drive up the price of everything. If you care about these issues, if you care about the future of our country, if you care about kindergartners growing up and having more than you did, more than your grandparents did, then you have to elect Dr. Oz 3 weeks from tomorrow. And I tell you, I know there's a lot of advertisements on television. I saw it last night during the ball game when I got to town. The most powerful advertisement that there is in politics is not a television ad. It's from each and every one of you. And it's going to your friends and your neighbors and your coworkers and telling them, I'm for Dr. Oz, here's why, and I hope you will be too. I promise you, if you do that, if you're his voice for the next 3 weeks, he will be your voice in the United States Senate for the next 6 years. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the next United States Senator.
I've been to Washington to visit with Congressman Kelly, and we've campaigned a lot together. And he's honest when he says he will hold up everything to do 8 o'clock mass. It means the world to me. But you came today. My mother-in-law is an ordained minister. Where's Lisa? My wife Lisa's here somewhere. I worry about her being a flight risk sometimes. But she studied seminary, so I understand the importance of faith, and it's actually one of the reasons that we're able to stay strong through this campaign trail. Because I went to the Steelers game yesterday, and we are going through the tailgates, and tailgates are full of people from both parties, and folks haven't decided yet. So I was doing a little biopsy of Pennsylvania, using the Pittsburgh Steelers fans as my way of judging what's going down. And there were 3 issues they raised. And they raised them in ways that made me want to share them with you. Because as you go out and speak, as Senator Cotton has asked you to do, and he's absolutely right, you're the biggest, most powerful voice that can sway this election right now. Don't underestimate how important you are. But these are the 3 things I think you should focus on, based on what I heard yesterday. The first thing, obviously, was the economy. People talk about it. It's affecting their health because they believed they've done all the right things, as you have as well. And yet they're not getting ahead. Right? They make more money, but not enough to keep up with inflation. The taxes are coming down their way, which, again, my opponent in this race has advocated in every step of his career. As a mayor, he did raise taxes. As a lieutenant governor, he tried to raise taxes 46%. Thankfully, the Republicans in the House and Senate stopped it. And he advocated for the tax raises that we're seeing right now that the Biden administration is levying on middle-class taxpayers. People doing all the right things. By the way, he didn't pay his own taxes 67 times. Just putting it out there because that's a little bit awkward. But those are the kinds of realities that bother people. So they voiced that. And that's something, you mentioned the little request that was made. The actual phrase was, if you had a magic wand, what would you do? And John Fetterman said, I would end life in prison for murder. Again, a magic wand, is that what you would do? Of all the things you could do. I think I would actually focus on inflation. A regressive tax on all Pennsylvanians. But here's the reality. You don't need a magic wand to fix inflation, right? You just stop spending recklessly our kids' money, and we could probably do that. Or we can take care of the energy policies in our state, which have been mismanaged horribly. And it's not just that they're calling it a stain on Pennsylvania, which is what Fetterman has said, but the regulatory process has made it impossible for these guys to invest, double down, and create jobs that we all desire. Kendra Cotton and I are going to a PAC today for EQT, and a big energy natural gas producing company. Our carbon footprint has dropped 15%. So I'm sorry, dropped in the last 15 years, more than 15%, because of natural gas coming out of the ground. So if you really love the environment, you should want natural gas. But if you're frozen in the ideological belief that it's the only the Green New Deal path forward or none, then you're not going to allow natural gas to be used, and instead you're going to wage war on people who are trying to do the right thing, which is why it's so offensive to me when John Fetterman said he would prosecute energy executives for price gouging. They have literally convinced Democrats that energy prices have gone up and inflation has gone up because of executives of companies. Who maligns an entire sector of America? Who declares war on an entire group of people saying you're all bad? When people do that, they destabilize our nation. So that's the first thing I want you talking about, the economy. The second big issue is drugs, which hurts every family. And it hurts us because we can't tell when it's coming. I was in Philadelphia doing an event, door knocking event on Saturday morning, and a woman in the front row held up a picture of her daughter. That usually means something bad happened, usually with fentanyl. Predictably, it's exactly what had gone down. The daughter had some pain. She asked for some stuff. The person dropped it off in her mailbox. She took the stuff. It was fentanyl. They found her blue and dead a few hours later. Horrible story. The woman was very emotional talking about it, but angry as well because the person who gave her this fentanyl, who did it to many others as well, is now coming up for parole already. Her daughter's not coming back on parole. Since she's angry that we have a weak justice system, cannot deal with fentanyl, my opponent has called to decriminalize all of these opiate drugs and wants to have heroin injection sites. What is that about? When they tried that in Oregon 2 years ago, which he endorsed, 50% increase in homicide rates. Not just drug overdose rates, which also increased about that much, but homicide rates, because you create a world where there's lawlessness. That gets people angry. So I will talk about that, and of course tie in the border, because if we didn't have an open border that was making cartels so much money, they wouldn't be able to run human trafficking operations to take the profits and invest it in drugs. And fentanyl is coming from China, which Senator Cotton has gone after, and I will as well. We have to hold them accountable for poisoning our children, because that's what they're doing. And they're doing it with knowledge. And finally, crime. At the Steelers game, we were tailgating less than a quarter mile away, probably 4 blocks. There were 3 homicides on Saturday night. You all know about this. 3 people murdered a few blocks from where we were tailgating. Who could imagine this happening? So we know Philadelphia's got the most homicides ever in its history, the most of any large city per capita in the country. But Pittsburgh's not so good either. And my friends and you probably, how many of you are feeling concerned about walking in Pittsburgh at night these days? Shocking. Wouldn't have thought about this 2-3 years ago. So this is actually the topic with the most intensity. So if I were you, I'd talk about the economy, because it's the most common topic, the drugs, because it's the most painful topic, and talk about crime, because it's the most intense topic. And we are going to win this election, because the Democrats don't want to talk about any of those 3 topics, because their policies are led to detriment and all. So let me leave it with one last request. Because frankly, the only thing Joe Biden's built back better is the Republican Party. He's made us strong. In medicine, you talk about a lot of stuff with your patients, and you focus on one basic decision. In my case, are you going to have the heart surgery or not? Here's the basic question. Are you happy with the way America's headed? That's the only question you have to get voters, friends, colleagues, the many you're going to call to focus on. And if they say yes, take away their car keys. They really should not be driving in that condition. But 70% are going to say no. We're really hurt about our nation. We love America. We're not happy where it's headed. And without being abrasive or arrogant, just assertively say that we are the party for change. And I'm the candidate in the U.S. Senate who will make sure that we can have all of the above energy policy that's protection of our environment and our economy. That we can avoid recklessly spending our children's money, that we can keep safe city streets, that we can close the border and allow legal immigration, but by doing that, prevent fentanyl from killing our children. We can have parents and their choices matter in the education of their kids, and we can have affordable health care for all. These are achievable. But the most important thing you've got to say to the people you're talking to is that you believe in them, because I believe in you. because together we can make this happen. Nothing will get in our way. We just have to have confidence in ourselves as Americans. That's always the grit that's allowed us to persevere. It's what we stand for right now. God bless you all.